Well, hello everyone. Did you all miss me? I am back. It is your illustrious host Darthsparrow, and I am so happy to be back joining everybody for episode 85 of the Geeks with Wives and Capes. What's going on, everyone? I missed you all. Piper, how you doing over there?
Whew. I've had a hell of a week.
Yeah. Well, for those of you just listening and not watching, Piper is like totally rocking the poison ivy look today.
Yeah, this was supposed to be originally my poison ivy wig, but I used it for I had to do a very quick Black Widow for something,
Oh, nice.
and yeah, and that's when I learned though that this wig is pretty crappy and it was shedding everywhere.
Right.
So I got a different wig for Poison Ivy, although it's darker than I wanted it to be. Better quality, but way darker than I thought it was going to be.
Gotcha. Piper, I have to ask you, did you miss me?
Of course I missed you. I just said that the past two podcasts have been insane.
Have they?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, man. You leave for 2 weeks. I don't know. I don't know what happens.
all hell breaks loose.
All hell breaks loose. It's craziness. Hey, so you guys want to know where I was?
Of course.
I got engaged.
Woohoo!
I got engaged. I'm on my way to being an official geek with wives, with a wife and
Yeah.
all. So, before I introduce our esteemed guest, who's sitting over there quietly, I'm sorry. Don't go anywhere, Sean. Okay.
Don't worry, I'm here.
Awesome. I have to tell you how it all went down because everybody keeps asking me, of course. So
Oh yeah.
so for those of you listening, I always had it in mind to my proposal to Emily to be very inspired by the movie Tangled. I don't know how many of you have seen Tangled. I'm sure a lot of you have. And
How cute.
there's the scene with where they're on the river and there's all the floating lanterns and things, right? So obviously I can't necessarily light like 30 paper lanterns with real fire in a neighborhood residential area. They might get kind of pissed off about that. So I came up with the next best solution, which was to get a bunch of balloons, and then I went on eBay and found these like little 1-inch LEDs that are specifically made to go inside balloons.
Oh, cool.
And so I got those, and then I contacted a bunch of friends and family, 29 people to be exact. And the reason why it's 29 is because we've been together 29 months. So there was one balloon to represent each month we were together. I know,
Aw.
I know. And then I had the 30th one, which was meant to represent our future and stuff. And so,
Aw.
so I kind of fibbed a little and said we were going on a date, picked her out for the date. I was like, honey, I'm so sorry. I forgot the gift card for dinner. I have to go back to the house and get it. And she's like, hey, yeah, that's fine, whatever. So I go to the back. I run in real quick and make sure everybody's ready to go. I left her in the car. I said, honey, I'm like, they just finished doing all the stuff in the backyard. You got to come check it out. She's like, okay. Took her in the house. I kind of walked ahead of her and had her cousin like cue up the music as soon as I walked out the door. And as soon as she like realized what was going on and saw everybody after, she just started bawling. She's just like, oh my god.
Oh.
So being a perfectionist when it comes to those kind of things, I was like, okay, there's a couple things I would have liked to have gone better, but she didn't know and she said it was perfect, so that's all that matters. So
Nice.
so I'm now very excitedly engaged, and we went to San Francisco to celebrate afterwards and did all kinds of geeky cool stuff that I will tell you all about later on in the show. But,
Awesome.
other than that, I just wanted to say thanks to all my friends, if any of you are listening, who helped out, and be ready because there's a wedding coming. But if I had the money to fly you out, Piper, for it, I would totally do it.
Oh, that would be awesome. The same goes for you guys too.
Awesome. So, anyways, that's why I took a little break. I obviously was, knee deep in planning and preparations for that, but I'm excited to be back and to get things rolling again with our illustrious host for the evening. From Blackjack Press, we are joined by Mr. Sean Fahey. Sean, welcome to the show. This is the anticlimactic moment where I always feel like we need applause and we don't have any, so we'll just pretend there's applause, okay? Yay!
I'll add some applause for myself.
Awesome. Sean, welcome, man. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. We're excited. So you're also a native, or not native, but you live in California, correct?
Yep, I live in Petaluma.
Petaluma. What's the world like in Petaluma today?
It's nice. The weather's good. It's always quiet in Petaluma, but right now that's the way I like it.
Yeah, right. Get
Yeah,
away from the hustle and bustle of everything.
exactly.
But so, how's your week been, Sean? Anything exciting going on?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I took my family down to Pinnacles National Park recently, which was very nice. You're in Fresno, so you're actually not too far away from that yourself. So if you like,
What's Pinnacles National Park?
it's a national park south of San Jose.
Okay.
If you like kind of splunking, caves, hiking, it's got a lot of interesting topography.
Okay.
Some good hikes there. If you like camping, that type of stuff, it's a good location. It's a very manageable national park. It's not as large as, say, Yosemite or Grand Canyon or some of the larger ones.
Right. Are you a very outdoorsy kind of guy, Sean?
I like to think that I am, but probably not as aggressive as I imagine myself in my mind to be.
Hey, what if you are, man? You never know.
Right.
What if we all went camping with you and you're like Tom Cruise, just like up a wall with no ropes or anything?
That's right. Probably be more like Daniel Day-Lewis from Last of the Mohicans, off killing animals in the woods and coming back with breakfast for everyone.
We're like, we're eating that? You're all, that's damn right, you're eating that. We're skinning it first.
Everyone
excellent,
loves
man.
Miami.
Hey, you know what? It's all good.
Yep.
It's all good. Well, cool, man. We're super excited. So, you have you wrote two awesome stories in an anthology called Tall Tales from the Badlands.
Thanks.
Before we get into that, why don't you tell us what we always refer to as your geek origin story? Tell us how you got into the comic book scene and how you started.
Okay. It's not a unique story. I mean, I grew up reading comics, enjoyed them, enjoyed westerns growing up, and got to a point where I wasn't seeing much on the stands that I wanted to read, specifically as it relates to westerns. There was a period where it was kind of Jonah Hex, and that was about it.
Right.
So I decided, rather than sitting on the sidelines and complaining about it, that I would try and do something about it, and got with a couple of friends and worked out an idea to start putting out an anthology, which is Tall Tales from the Badlands. Try and do one a year, about 5 or 6 stories an issue, and just tell the type of stories that we wanted to tell, which among that group of friends was westerns.
Yeah.
So it kind of went on from there. We're starting to branch out in some other areas. We've got a Vikings Anthology coming out in about 2 months, and then a Viking horror miniseries coming out in about 6 months, first issue. So just it just boils down to being a fan, enjoying storytelling, and then wanting to tell the type of stories that I wanted to read, which I wasn't seeing a lot of.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of that's one of those things that you have to do. If you're really unhappy with something, like, you got to start by fixing it yourself, right? Doing what you can to make it better, or
Right.
to put out those things that you want to see.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to get on any kind of high horse. There's plenty of great stuff out there.
Sure.
But there's not a lot of westerns, and that's what I wanted to read. That's what I wanted to read more of. Now they're starting to turn the corner a little bit, and you're starting to see more stuff, kind of hybrid type westerns like East of West and Copperhead and series like that within the past year and a half or so, which is fantastic. Very happy to see that development in the industry.
Right, for sure. Did you have any kind of formal training before starting to write comics?
Nothing formal. I mean, I was a double major in undergrad, English and film studies, so did a lot of writing.
Yeah.
In school, just newspaper, literary magazine. Did a lot of writing in, as part of my career as an attorney, doing a lot of writing there.
Okay.
So it's nothing formal, but just as part of the process of just school, life, work. Always writing something.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us specifically to westerns, what kind of things did you really enjoy watching as a kid, western-wise?
In terms of what I enjoyed watching, I really liked liking and continue to like watching Sam Peckinpah, Sergio Leone, John Ford. Those are my big three.
Yeah.
Those are the guys, in my opinion. Those are really the cornerstones of the genre in terms of the filmmaking. In terms of recent stuff, I like Hell on Wheels is good. Gosh, it seems like it's been a while since they put out a Western movie. I thought the assassination of Jesse James was good. The
Sure.
Brad Pitt movie.
What about when they get to stuff like Django Unchained? What did you think about that overall as a western? I know that's.
I mean, I was entertained. I wouldn't. It certainly had plenty of Western elements to it.
Right.
But it seemed more like a Civil War era kind of revenge film.
Gotcha.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah, for sure.
It was good. I mean, it was good. It was entertaining. I tell you what, I'm very much looking forward to Tarantino's next film, which I understand is very much a straightforward
Western,
kind of classic style Western. I think it's called the Hateful Eight, if I remember correctly.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. But I enjoy Django. I'm just really looking forward to the next one, though.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome, man. That's great. That's really cool. Tell us about the two stories you have in this particular issue of Tall Tales from the Badlands. There's two you wrote. The first one was Apologies, and that was it definitely deals with some very dark elements to it.
Yeah, that one messed me up a little bit. It was a very short little roller coaster right there, like.
But it was one of those roller coasters that really got to you right away. Did you hold it on? Yeah. What inspired the subject matter on that?
Well, I think one of the more interesting kind of sub themes of the Western is the idea of man trying to impose himself over nature, and then nature fighting back in some instances. So, I wanted to explore that concept. The concept of man trying to civilize the West, but in this case, nature winning out in the struggle. I mean, kind of the end story of the West was that it became tamed. It became civilized, and it basically became an extension of the East. So I wanted to do a story, since we were doing kind of a Weird West theme on the third issue, where we're kind of putting little twists and little spins on the themes and the stories, just kind of twisted a little bit, not unlike the Donner Parter story, where nature wins, nature beats out civilization.
Right.
So that was really kind of what was driving the story thematically.
Yeah, man, that's intense, man. That's some crazy stuff. Real quick, just while let me take a break because we had issues earlier, technical issues, but tonight also join us, since Casey is out sick, so Casey get well, is Jonathan Reyes, who is one of our new contributors to the site. Jonathan, welcome, man.
Hey guys, thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, we're glad you got your stuff fixed.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Finally.
You don't sound like you threw your microphone in the dryer.
Oh my God, yeah, that was a disaster to start off.
Hey man, it's all good. It happens. Happens at the beginning of all the best shows.
Yeah, right.
Any questions for Sean, Jonathan?
Yeah, I was actually reading it along the way, the two short stories along home today on my commute, and it was funny. I actually wanted Starbucks, and your character mentioned the Starbucks at one point. I said, "This is perfect." So my question to that is
subliminal advertising.
Yeah. So my question would be, was that done purposely to kind of make a more realistic approach to the West?
Exactly. Are you talking about the references at the end of the story?
Yeah. I did.
Yep. I didn't want to do. I didn't want to make stuff up like Joe's Coffee Shack and like make up a TV show. I wanted people to have kind of an instantaneous and kind of visceral response to the change in their surroundings, and wanted to give people kind of touchstones to things that were popular in kind of society and culture at the time.
Yeah.
So it was kind of an instantaneous connection to what I was trying to do with respect to the reference points.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
that
then,
was.
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jonathan. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then why did you immediately want to kind of almost start with a bang? Was it because it's a shorter, I guess, page length that you had? I mean, what was the reason for saying, okay, the character's gonna go nuts immediately and start putting a gun right away?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted. A part of it has to do with the, as you indicate, the page length. I mean, we're all dealing with 8 pages or less for each of our stories on not just the 3rd volume, but really each of the volumes. I think we gave Mark, I gave Mark a little bit of extra space for the first story because I think he needed the space for his script to tell the story he wanted to tell. But with short stories and with anthologies, you really need to get into in my opinion, you really need to get into the action right away to kind of start building the drama effectively. The short stories that I absolutely can't stand are the ones that wait until the very last panel to kind of give you the drama. Personally, I prefer the ones that kind of throw you into the drama right away, and see if you can up the game from a high level of drama that you start at. So I wanted to put in both of the stories that I wrote, I wanted to put the people into situations where they're already struggling, and kind of try and up the ante from there.
I think it makes for a very interesting story, when that sort of element happens early on in the beginning, because you almost have to like grab on and just catch up to everything. You know what I mean? You don't
Right.
get you don't get very you don't get complacent with the story and you're going, okay, where is this going? You just kind of like, oh, okay, what's happening? that's definitely that was definitely the feeling I had in your second story in the book, which was Where the Heart Is, and it had obvious. I don't want to use this term in an offensive way at all. It had a very The Village-esque twist to it.
Right. Yeah. No. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that was like I said, it took me, when they let out that first statement that Jonathan already brought up about the Starbucks, I was like, okay, wait a minute, what just happened right now?
Yeah,
Right.
that's when I realized we were dealing with a different story than I thought we were, is when Starbucks was mentioned, and I was like, wait, what?
Right. Right. Which goes back to, which goes back to Jonathan's point from earlier, is that, I wanted to create reference points that, people could associate with immediately and then kind of understand that this is going in a completely different direction than kind of struggling with, what is Joe's Coffee Shack? What does that mean?
Right.
Yeah,
You throw
I
something
agree.
like Starbucks. Right.
If you had made up a name of something, I don't think it would hit the time period thing quite as well.
As
I
quickly
think
as
everybody would
proper
still be
Starbucks,
kind of guessing what's going on and not
Right.
quite concerned.
Hey, Sean, with
So let me ask you. Let me ask you guys. Do you?
Right.
Because I'm curious. Did it work? Was that story effective in terms of the twist, in terms of what it was trying to convey?
Yeah,
I'll let
I think.
Piper go ahead first. Piper, you
What?
said-
Nobody else was saying anything?
I was
okay.
just saying, I was going to let you go first.
Oh, no, I was just saying I think it worked, and I think, honestly, mentioning something that we are all familiar with in our popular culture, basically, was what did it, though. Otherwise, I think it would be a little foggy until the end.
There was and especially in the beginning of that whole exchange when the other family comes in, they were still kind of referring to a lot of, what you thought was in the time period things that they were discussing, and
Right.
then
Yeah,
it went from that to that jump, and it was really it really got across that shock and awe factor for me.
yeah,
Good.
Yeah, no, it was definitely it made things realistic. Because at first, you're in the West with this family, and then they're mentioning things and you say to yourself, they're actually living in my time, so these people could be this crazy now, almost. It was kind of weird thinking of that. It kind of makes it scary in a way
Right.
too. Because in the beginning, you're setting up this family. You see this guy. He's like, "I'm sorry," and so you're immediately trying to sympathize with somebody. and then after that, you don't trust anybody. You don't trust him. You don't, and then when his kids come, you don't know what he's. You just don't know at every turn, and then you think this other group you could trust, but you just can't. And I think it just really it really tied into everything really well.
Oh, we're back to talk about the first one. I
I
was confused for a second.
The
I was like,
last one too, I would say, does the same thing. They both worked well, I think.
Thanks.
Sean, tell us a little bit about your the other writers on the book and kind of how you guys all got together and started this project in the first place.
Yeah. So kind of like I was saying earlier, the idea started when it was primarily my brother and I were kind of kicking around the idea of working on something, and specifically a Western, and we couldn't get on the same page with a long-term project. So we just decided that, hey, you write yours, I'll write mine, and then we'll just consolidate it. We'll do an anthology. And so after the first issue, we started inviting some other writers that we knew into the fold. Now with the third issue, we had Mark Wheaton do the first story. Mark has done some comic book stuff for Dark Horse. He's primarily a film screenwriter. He did The Messengers and the most recent Friday the 13th film.
Okay.
And then is also a horror novelist. Robert Napton did The Rustlers, and Robert is a comic book writer. Most of his stuff has been for Dynamite, Legendary Comics, Top Cow, and who am I missing?
Let's see, I was going back. Looking at the page.
Is it just those three, or was there someone else? Sometimes I get the issues mixed up.
Let's see. You got Mark Wheaton, you, Robert Napton, Matt.
Matt. I'm sorry. Yeah, Matt. Matt's a friend of mine from DC. When I used to live in Northern Virginia. Matt is a pretty accomplished comic book writer and publisher of his own. He's done a couple of books for Oni Press. He has published a couple of anthologies himself. He did the Eisner-nominated Trickster, which was about Native American mythology.
Right.
He did the Harvey-nominated District Comics, which was about kind of under-the-radar stories about Washington, D.C. And he's working on a couple of other anthologies right now, one of which is about colonial America. And I think he's doing another book for Oni as well right now.
Gotcha. One thing I was curious about, Sean, and and especially whenever I read a comic book that's in black and white, I always really like to see how different artists portray the different emotions with a very limited color scheme. What made you guys decide to do this book in black and white instead of in color?
I mean, to be perfectly honest, a lot of it was driven by cost. Because I'm paying for this book myself, and I'm not sure if any of you guys do any self-publishing on your own, but the cost differential between black and white and color
it's huge,
is significant. It's significant.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I like black and white, especially when you throw in the grayscale. Some of my favorite movies are black and white. I like the contrasts. It's thematically it helps in terms of highlighting good and bad, some of the contrast between some of the characters, and then with an issue that's kind of horror-centric, Weird West-centric, it seemed to make sense in kind of that EC Comics kind of creepy magazine kind of way, where all of the old horror anthology comics were black and white. So in some ways, inadvertently. It's kind of keeping with that tradition. Well, so let's just roll with that. We're keeping with the tradition of horror anthology comics. It has nothing to do with cost.
We'll amend everything else you said and just go with that.
We very much. Yeah, that's the answer right there. We very much wanted to honor the tradition of EC Comics and the classic
Excellent.
horror comics of yesteryear.
Tell us a little bit about some of the artists you work with on this book, because there's definitely some very different art styles in this, and they all lend themselves very well to the stories that they're telling. Tell us about how you came along the artists you're working with here.
Yeah, no. So I've been pretty lucky with digital webbing. Digital webbing is the primary source that I use to find artists. In fact, that's how I found all of my artists initially, and over time developed relationships with them and continue to work with them from there.
Right.
Just kind of going through the list. You want me to talk about all of them, or just the ones that I worked with on my stories?
Yeah. Talk about the ones you worked with.
All right. Well, John. All right. Let's talk about John, because I think John he did Apologies, which I think John has a very unique style, which I guess you could refer to it as cartoonish.
Yeah.
And when I was putting out the solicitations for this story, when I put out a solicitation for an artist, I try and put in there a paragraph about what the story is about to attract artists that want to work with that kind of material. Not just throw something, hey, I'm looking for a job, and everyone and anyone apply. I want to at least give people a chance to understand what they're applying for, to try and attract the right kind of artist. Right. So a lot of the people that applied for that position had kind of a dark, gritty, kind of sober kind of style, which I think, if you were going to take a conservative approach to the visuals of the comic, those folks would lend themselves to the material just fine. But when I saw John's stuff, it was kind of jarring. And he did some test panels right away, because he very much wanted the position. Sure. And so when I saw the way that he was drawing, the children and the wife, I realized that when we got to the final turn of the story, and you were going to see these people, in peril, very much in danger, that it would be, to me at least, it would be very visually jarring to see a cartoonish rendition almost of those people in that kind of setting. Like the juxtaposition of those, the visuals against the theme, I thought was very jarring, at least for me, because you don't normally associate that kind of story and those themes with those kind of visuals.
Just from my perspective, as a person reading this, it's definitely has a lot more of an impact when I get, to put it easier in words, to have like a very innocent looking art style with that very dark, very gritty subject matter.
Yep, and that's, once I saw John, I decided immediately this is exactly what I want to go with. I think people are going to be disturbed when they're presented with these visuals, and then they're given that that kind of very horrific twist at the end. I think it's going to be. It was jarring for me, and I thought it would be jarring for other folks as well.
Yeah, definitely.
It definitely helped it be jarring.
Right. And then with respect to the second story, I just like Ruben's style very much. I thought he brought out a lot of emotion in the way that he rendered kind of the human figure and the human face, and I knew that so much of that story was going to turn on the artist's ability to convey emotion in the faces of the characters, because there's a lot of moments where there's a lot of different emotions going on. There's fear, there's anxiety, there's surprise, there's frustration, there's anger, and at the end there's kind of this sense of happiness. A family that's very, very content with their position. So I wanted someone that was going to be able to draw that entire range of human emotion. Some folks are very, very good at the angry kind of battle fighting face. Some folks are very, very good at the kind of, pouty sex kitten type thing. And I wanted someone that was going to be able to draw, that had a real mastery over human emotion, and I thought Ruben had that, and I thought he conveyed that well.
Awesome.
Sean, I noticed that you did, maybe it was just me reading it, but you have the West as your main genre, and then I noticed the horror and Apologies, but then a little bit of sci-fi in the second one. Was that done purposely to have these cross genres together?
Well, we knew on the the first two issues of the anthology, we played it kind of straight. Now, some of the stories in the first two issues had kind of a Twilight Zone-esque twist on them, but for the most part, they were very conventional style westerns, traditional style western storytelling. When I started soliciting scripts from my friends on the third one, the first two that I got back were from Mark and Matt, and they both had a supernatural twist to them. And so I decided, hey, why don't we go this way for the entire volume and do a Weird West theme? So I reached out to Robert, said go crazy with it, monsters, ghosts, whatever you want. We're going to do Weird West, and then decided that my two scripts were going to kind of play up on that theme as well. So the sci-fi aspect of it was just to try and be consistent with the overall Weird West theme of the volume.
Gotcha.
Now, are all these stories that you do, are they just kind of short stories? So that's it. The ending is ambiguous to the reader. There's really no continuation.
Not for these. Yeah, the next book that we're putting on is a Vikings Anthology, and all those stories are going to be self-contained as well. Although, I mean, one of the stories in there is in some ways a backdoor prequel to a mini-series that we're putting out later on, which is a Viking horror mini-series. But they all the Viking stories kind of play it straight. They're all borrow from an element, a kernel, if you will, of some type of historical fact, and then expand upon that. We've got a story about the Viking raid on Lindisfarne, which was kind of wasn't the very first Viking raid in the West, but was the first one that really garnered a lot of attention within the West. We've got one about the Viking justice system in Iceland, which was kind of a true kind of democratic justice system. We've got one about the Varangian Guard in Constantinople. We've got one about the Viking funeral ritual. We've got one about, which is an interesting revenge story that's bookended by the Battle of Clontarf in Ireland, which is kind of a Viking story about colonialism, but Nordic colonialism in Ireland. And then we've got a story about Eric the Red's daughter, who was, my wife actually wrote it. She's a pretty good writer herself, and when she brought this one to my attention, and kind of the research, she was the badass of the Viking Age. She was quite the character, and I think she turned in a fantastic story about Fridas, who was Eric the Red's daughter, who led an expedition to North America on her own. After her brother did. She was pretty ruthless.
That's awesome, man. So you even got the wife working on the project. That is pretty cool.
Yep.
But
So,
does that make things easier for you when you're putting out your own comic?
You mean that the wife's working on it too?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does. Because she's obviously invested in it. Invested in the success of the project as well. So it makes it easier when I disappear for hours in the evening to work on it, because it's for the greater good, baby. It's for the we gotta wrap up the project. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Sean, besides obviously the amazing westerns that were in this anthology and the upcoming Viking stuff, is there any other themes that you really would love to work with in this whole project?
To be honest, I'm a pretty simplistic person, and I'm pretty happy with, kind of staying in the Western and the Viking realm, which in a lot of ways I find those two areas almost thematically identical. I think the Viking Age and the mythological American West have a lot in common. They touch on themes that I enjoy exploring and researching and writing about. I mean, if you think about it, the Icelandic Vikings were very much the cowboys of their era. They were, like the American, in the American West, you had the end of the Civil War. You had a lot of Southerners, a lot of African Americans moving west because they weren't crazy about the East. They weren't crazy about kind of the centralized authority in the East, and they were looking to make their own fortunes by moving west.
Right.
At a period in the time when the West was a true meritocracy. You know, you could succeed basically on the sweat of your brow alone, and it didn't matter who your daddy was, you know, or what your last name was. If you worked hard enough, generally speaking, but if you worked hard enough, you could forge your own destiny. And I think the Icelandic Viking Age was very much the same. You had the Vikings that were trying to escape kind of centralized power and authority in Norway and Denmark regions and moved west to Iceland and Greenland to kind of forge their own destiny, claim their own land, seek their own riches. And a lot of these folks, not unlike the Confederates in the American West, were exiles from Norway. These were people that lost in the civil wars against the Norwegian kings, and were, looked to the West to kind of find renewal and rebirth.
Sure.
So, I'm very much attracted to that kind of those themes and those stories. Kind of the idea of meritocracies, of succeeding by the sweat of your own brow, by renewal, rebirth, new beginnings.
Yeah, awesome, man. That's great. I'm super excited because just reading all the cool different stories in this current book, and Vikings are kind of hot right now. They're definitely a popular thing, especially with that show. So I'm definitely to see what you got coming for that book. Sean, where can our listeners go and find your awesome book?
They can go if they're interested in digital comics. All of our books are available through Drive-Thru Comics, and if they want print copies, then our books are available through Indie Planet.
Indie Planet, awesome.
Yeah, and we do some conventions in California. We're gonna do APE, Alternative Press Expo, in October.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna be at Big Wow in San Jose in a couple of weeks, and we'll be at Stockton in August, I believe. So we've got plenty of copies to sell there. Vikings will be out in about 2 months, and that will be available in print and digital. And then The River of Blood, which is our kind of Viking horror miniseries, will be out. First issue will be out in about 6 months. I kind of want to wait till I've got more than one issue complete before releasing it, because I don't want there to be too much of a gap between issues. So the artist is almost done with the second issue now. It's going to be a 3-issue miniseries. As soon as the art's complete on the second one, then we'll start moving towards releasing the first issue while he's working on the third issue. So that'll be about 6 months.
The River of Blood. That just sounds so badass.
Yeah, it's basically
Right.
it's
a horror story called The River of Blood. That's awesome.
Thanks. It's very much my in a lot of ways it's my love letter to Robert Howard and H.P. Lovecraft.
Okay.
Nice.
Very cool, man. Well, awesome. Well, Sean, thank you, man. Thank you for all that. It's a super great book. Go check it out, guys. Sean, would you like to stick around and talk with us about Week in Geek stuff?
Yeah, thanks. I'd love to.
Awesome, man. So, without further ado, back for another issue of Week in Geek. Who's going first today? How about we let Jonathan go first? It's new.
All right.
Jonathan, tell us about your Week in Geek. What'd you read? What'd you watch? What'd you do?
Okay. Well, definitely the highlight of my week was the Witches #5 by Scott Snyder. I reviewed it for the website. It's fantastic. It's a great comic series to get into. It's got like the visceral images and the horror from Jock's art, and Scott Snyder. I think you could tell by my picture I am a big fan of Scott Snyder. His writing is brilliant. It's really just some of the stuff he does in there is just unbelievably jarring, but it's so good. It really is good.
When your picture popped up on the Hangout, I actually thought Scott Snyder was going to be joining us there for a second.
Wait, Scott's here? It's like that would have been news to me too, man.
And then I've been pretty busy this week, so the only other thing I did that was pretty geeky was I watched The Flash, which I gotta call out Brad Bell, our own Brad Bell, a 1 for this week's episode. I'm sorry, I don't agree with that.
You
just
give it a
don't.
1, huh? And you give it a what?
I would have given it an 8.
Okay.
It was solid. It was solid. It was solid. But anyway, so those are two things. I gotta watch Arrow too. That's another big one of mine. I love Arrow.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
And
I'm
what
with you,
movies?
Jonathan. I'm a big Arrow fan myself.
You can't go wrong with that show.
No, it's awesome. You know, I was worried
Yeah.
when they started rolling out the trailers for the first season. I was like, you know, I was a little worried. I just thought they were gonna play up the Batman Begins rip-off thing too much. You know, they had him on the kind of salmon ladder doing the jumping workout things, and I'm like, all right, they're gonna rip off Batman Begins, and it's gonna be terrible. But almost from the first episode, I was, you know, is it Steve Arnell? Is he the one that plays Oliver?
Stephen Amell.
Yeah, he won me over instantly, and you know, I
It
thought
helps that he's like super cute. No.
you need to talk to my wife, Piper.
Yeah, he's one of
guys-
those. He's a male character that I will objectify all night long.
Piper.
Yeah, no, he's fantastic, and I love I love this Slade. I love that they brought Slade Wilson in and did it so well. They did it so well. Yeah, with Man of Net.
It was really good. Just to see him in his full Deathstroke gear was insane.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, Stephen Amell. I love the way he's. It's so underrated the way he kind of goes from being the Arrow with his, you know, that kind of deeper, gruffier voice to, oh, I'm the innocent Oliver Queen, which is it's incredible. He's good.
He does it well. Yep.
He's really solid. Yeah. So those are my. And then now it's just a month of agony waiting for Avengers.
I know, right? We're so close.
They keep teasing you. It's like, oh, check out this trailer and this teaser and this advertisement. It's like, I don't want to see all this.
Oh man, tell you, man, so stoked.
It's gonna be good.
Is that it, my brother?
Yeah. Thank you.
Miss Piper Steed, what do you got for us?
Well, my week was so eventful, I guess, that I didn't get to do quite as much geeking out as I would have liked, but I did get to read issue number 2 of Neverboy.
Mm-hmm.
And yep, I'm still invested in that story for sure. I am but it's still really hard to explain, which I think is why I like it. It's like it gives you enough information to follow it, but trying to explain it to somebody else, you're just kind of like, you got to read it. Red Sonja and Conan,
Mm-hmm.
or Conan and Red Sonja.
You're one of them.
My only problem with that is that I missed an issue somewhere, so I think I just read number 3.
Okay.
And I missed number 2 somewhere.
You're feeling a little lost.
Yeah, so I was a little bit lost, and I still tried to follow it because I still like it.
Yeah.
And I definitely loving their interaction and stuff. So I would recommend that to anybody. That is a strong female character, and it doesn't matter what she's wearing.
Yeah, as long as she's strong and kicks ass, right?
Right? Like, who cares what she's wearing? She's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
And I watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I haven't watched it yet. Don't spoil it.
Oh my god! I'm letting people spoil Arrow for me left and right.
Slap them.
and Flash. I'm really bad on Flash because basically I'm waiting for the season to end so that then I can watch it.
Yeah.
Which is the same with this Arrow. I finally caught up to Arrow only to miss most of this season, so I'm just waiting for it to end so that I can catch up again. So I'm having all sorts of stuff ruined. You're so lucky I'm nice.
I know.
Because
That's why I love you and appreciate you.
I'm going to explode if I don't talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. soon. Oh my god. You guys.
Good, right?
But okay, here's a funny side thing since I didn't get to do too much geeking out.
Yeah.
Something that did happen this week. One of my comments about changing the cover, the DC Joker's 75th anniversary, that little mini controversy, I guess, over Batgirl.
Batgirl, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It made CNBC's website.
Wow.
Somebody
nice.
else, like I woke up Monday, and I guess they did it Sunday. And I
Okay.
woke up Monday, and I had a tweet that was like, "Look, congrats, you made the news."
You're all really?
And it's me calling them all crybaby toddlers though. Like,
Hey.
yeah, it was nicer than that, but there was a major typo in it, so I'm like, yeah, out of all the things that I had to say to that tag, that's
Yeah.
the one that they used.
Thank you. Thank you,
But
CNBC.
still, that's neat. I'm like, look, I'm relevant.
Yeah. Hyper, you're always relevant to us, okay?
Yay!
That's awesome. That's super cool. I would have died a little bit too.
Yeah, I know. I had one friend that he's been telling me to that I need to print it and the original tweet and
Yeah.
frame them.
Right.
And I'm like, is it really that big of a deal? Is it that cool?
Hey.
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. You take it where you can get it, right?
Yes.
It's all good. It's all good, girl. Anything else?
Let's see. That in my most recent article has been a very interesting journey after it was released on Geeks with Wives.
Mm-hmm.
The response to it has been an interesting journey, I guess.
Are you having a mixed response? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, it's a mixed response, which I expected. What I actually didn't expect is that it's more positive than negative. So that feels good.
Awesome.
So what was the article about?
Whew, it was about Gamergate.
Oh,
Yeah, see, it tends to be a touchy subject, but I just wrote down what I learned on my own when I decided to be Snoopy and look into it.
Yeah.
And what I experienced while being Snoopy and looking into it.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff went down with that. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Well, like I said, it was a noteworthy response, I guess, because I was expecting a lot of hate mail,
Yeah.
and I got more not hate mail.
Yeah. I'm glad they were more supportive of you, lady.
Yeah, that felt really good.
Yeah. All good. All good things. That's awesome. Good to hear. Mr. Sean, what did you do in your Week in Geek this week?
my week in geek. I watched The Flash with my two boys. It's their favorite show, and I really appreciate Arrow's kind of dark. Don't let them for their age. They're 10 and
Yeah.
5.
Okay, yeah, it's a little dark for them.
Right. So when they did the spin-off with The Flash, I was very happy to see that they kept it at more of an all ages style.
Right.
My wife and I watch it and we enjoy it. They watch it, they enjoy it. And I don't think they do it all ages in a way that's insulting or dumb or kiddish.
Yeah.
It's kind of genuinely all ages in the way that, like Darwin Cook's New Frontier was all ages in a lot of ways. It's just kind of the wow factor of those classic DC superheroes. So watch that. Doing some binge watching on Arrow. I haven't seen the most recent one, but watched the two prior to that.
Yeah.
And then planning on watching Vikings later on tonight.
Excellent. Vikings. Cool, man. Anything else?
In terms of TV, that's about it. In terms of comics, I'm reading the trade paperback for Fade Out by Ed Brubaker.
Okay.
And that's it for comics right now.
Gotcha. Awesome, man. My comic list was very small this week, so I'll start with that. I read As If I Would Miss It, Darth Vader #3. You guys all know how I feel about Star Wars and especially Darth Vader, and this is like my drool-worthy book every time it comes out. The art is just so beautiful in it. I love how they've seemed like they know how to portray Darth Vader as the proper evil, sadistic badass that he is. And there was we got to be introduced to some cool new characters. A lady scientist who is activating a very C-3PO-esque looking droid who happens to be like a torturing protocol droid.
Oh, wow. Neat.
and she needed him to wake up this small astromech who is actually an assassin droid. It's very cool, like the scene where he turns on, like all these weapons come out. He almost looked like War Machine. He had like the bank of missiles on the side right here. I was like, dude, it's like War Machine D2.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, so yeah, this is really cool. It's just Vader continuing on his quest to, obviously at this point, find out who the Force strong pilot is that destroyed the Death Star, and he's kind of working in the background to, regain his position as the top, baddie of the Empire, now that he's kind of fallen from grace. So it's kind of cool to see how that's all playing out. I really love Darth Vader. I love what they're doing with it. I'm gonna say it's my favorite out of the 3 Star Wars books that have come out from Marvel so far. So I'm a little bit biased on that. We all know that. Whatever. Also, after I got engaged, I went on a nice little romantic vacation with my fiance. Yeah, so you got to get used to calling her fiance now. To the Bay Area, and we did a couple of really awesome geeky things. The first thing we did was we went down to the Presidio, and we got to visit the Walt Disney Family Museum, which was just an amazing experience. If you're a Disney-phile, you like Disney at all, it's a really cool thing to see, a lot of the history of Walt and, how he grew up and, how he started, his first animation company, and how, a lot of things that they did for Disney were at the forefront of animation, and, there were things that had never been done before. There was a ton to read. I think it took us like 3.5 hours to walk through the whole exhibit, and we didn't even read everything. We only read like about 60%. And it was nice that in the midst of it, they threw some very cool little interactive displays that you could actually play with, and learn about sound and how they used to sync sound back in the day with animation. So that was all really fun. And of course, when it got to the end with all the different things that were said by very prolific artists and entertainment dignitaries and writers about when he passed, it was all very it was very emotional. It was a little tear moment, so. It was very cool. If you're ever in San Francisco, definitely check it out. It's worth the drive. It's worth the money. It's definitely worth the 3.5 hours because it didn't seem like it. But
it is a good. I've done it myself. It's a good museum, and it's a great comeback story. Because he was, in a lot of ways, he was screwed out of his first creations.
Yeah, which was Oswald. Yeah.
Yep. And then they have the on the train ride back to L.A.
Mm-hmm.
Develops Mickey Mouse, and the rest is history. Kind of from there.
Yeah, it was.
What was the temporary exhibit that they had when you were there?
I don't know specifically. I think it was more of a photo exhibit.
Okay.
Yeah, they had just gotten rid of the trains, unfortunately. Yeah. So that was it was more of a photo exhibit that they had currently right now.
Yeah, they had a couple months back when we went. They had an exhibit of Mary Blair's work, and she was the conceptual artist for Peter Pan,
right?
The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, Headless Horseman, Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
Some pretty amazing conceptual stuff.
Yeah, that I think that was one of the coolest things to see too, is like actual original drawings that Walt had done. That's kind of like surreal, Seeing Disney as it started and how it is now is definitely, it's cool to see all that history and how it kind of got to that spot. So yeah, so check that out. The other really geeky thing I got to do is I got to be like a 10-year-old kid going to the Ice Capades. I threw on my Tony Stark gear. I took my helmet with me, and I went to go see Marvel Universe live. And I got to tell you guys, it was a blast. Here's my big obnoxious program that I got.
Awesome.
They could slap Iron Man on a paper bag and I'd pay like $30 for it. That's basically what I did. I bought this. I bought a shirt. They had this stupid little watchy thing that lights up at different parts of the show. I bought that. It was all over it, man. I had fun. I got to tell you, obviously being what they call an arena spectacular kind of show. There was some very obviously cheesy elements to it, but there was some ridiculously good motorcycle stunts in the show. I can't even tell you guys, it was amazing. There was some really cool. I mean, Captain America. There was a chase between Captain America and the Red Skull on motorcycles, and they did some stuff where you're like, there's no way they're gonna jump for that. Oh yeah, they did. They totally did. I got
That's cool.
Oh yeah, it was pretty badass. I gotta say, I think one of my favorite sequences of the show, surprisingly, didn't have to do with Iron Man. There was a scene where they're supposed to be fighting on the Statue of Liberty, and so they have this very large column set up in the middle of the stage area, and it's one of those things that they do with lighting to where either they light the inside or the outside, and actually made two different sets out of one. So the inside was like a big windy staircase, and it was a battle between Thor, the lizard, and the rhino, and because the material that surrounded the tube was really like light, they were able to project what looked like lightning when Thor would use Mjolnir. So that was really cool. Lightning would crackle across the screen, and then when they would adjust the lighting on the outside, it looked like the face of the Statue of Liberty, and that was a battle between Spider-Man, the Green Goblin, and Black Cat. So that whole scene, how it just went back and forth between the outside and the inside, and it was almost two different sets in one, was really mind-blowing. I really, really liked how they did that. But I know that's making a big tour, and it's going all over the U.S., so if you're a Marvel fan, it's not too cheesy where you won't enjoy it as an adult. So check it out.
This sounds like fun.
God, it was so rad. I was like, I want to see it again. I saw it there because it was like in San Jose, which was kind of on our way home, and I'll be in WonderCon when it actually comes to Fresno, where I live. So I was like, I'm not going to miss this thing. I'm going to see it one way or another. So I've got to get to check it out. But that's it for my Week in Geek. We got a few minutes, so let's talk real quick some news. Since you guys are all fans of The Flash, there's a rumored article going around that Tom Welling, who we all know played Clark Kent / Superman for 10+ seasons in Smallville, may be redonning the red, yellow, and blue as Superman in The Flash. If that happens, I am definitely gonna start watching The Flash because I don't watch it yet. I know I should. You guys are all giving me grief because I don't watch it, but this becomes
I'm giving
reality.
you grief, and I haven't even gotten to see it yet, and I'm still like, what?
If this happens, I'm gonna be totally right there, glued to my television.
Nice.
What do you guys feel about that?
I'm kind of indifferent to it. I never saw Smallville.
Okay.
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But you gotta watch The Flash.
Yeah.
Minus Tom Wellington, it's amazing.
Yeah. Sean, did you watch Smallville?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I would love it. My wife was actually a big Smallville fan, and so her head would explode if that actually happened.
Yeah, mine's going to too.
Yeah, I actually thought he was great on as Superman. So I think it would be a fantastic development for the show.
Yeah, agreed. Piper, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I was gonna say I watched Smallville for a while until I personally decided it was getting dumb, I guess. But it would be really neat if this was true.
Yeah.
It'd be a cute way to almost link the TV universe as well.
Somewhat
at least
kind of
call back to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're going to have him in, like, the character, if they're gonna have him in there at all, might as well be him playing him.
God, yeah.
Right.
I was one of those people who watched Smallville religiously from day one. I was there from the first episode, and I watched every single one after that. So I would be pretty stoked to get to see him again. I was really hoping that he was going to end up having a shot to play Superman when Superman Returns came out. So this will be kind of like our unfulfilled fantasy, TV fantasy.
If it happens, it'll be interesting though because Brandon Routh is on Arrow. And he played Superman in Superman Returns.
Of course.
You got two Supermans on screen.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, man. We're gonna alter the space-time continuum if that happens. Real quick, other news. Since we talked about Avengers and how we're all eagerly waiting for another month to see it, there is a rumor going around that Captain Marvel has already been cast, and that we may see her in Age of Ultron.
Oh.
Yeah. Did you guys read about that?
A little bit.
I think they cast the perfect, if that's who they cast.
Now, who in the one you read, who did they say has been cast as her?
You know what? I can't even remember her name right now. All I know is they had a picture of her next to a picture of Captain Marvel, and I was like, that, yeah,
Yeah, because
that is
because the
Captain
other
Marvel right there, and I cannot remember her name for the life of me right now.
it's not Katie Sackhoff. No, it's I can't think of her name, but yeah. The rumor is that she's going to end up appearing in possibly the end credit scene.
Mm.
Oh, that
Um,
secret little,
yeah,
yeah.
I think I don't think this is a far-fetched rumor. Because if we really think about it, there's going to be what maybe like two. Well, I guess we'll say two, maybe three, two movies that are going to tie directly into the next Avengers movie. Where they could possibly set up new Avengers characters. So I think it would make sense for them to kind of throw that little piece of information out there already. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I think they're gonna do something else with that ending credit, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what it'll be, but it's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be great if it was something Thanos related.
Yeah.
That I want to see him like again because it was such a tease in Guardians of the Galaxy.
I feel like we got enough Thanos and Guardians. We need more. Sean, what's your thoughts on Age of Ultron and where it's gonna take the rest of the cinematic universe?
I mean, with the exception of Iron Man 2, I think Marvel is batting 1,000.
Yeah.
Not just with the end credit stuff, but overall. I mean, 2 years ago, who would have thought that they could take a kind of mediocre comic book team that wasn't that popular and make a fantastic movie in Guardians of the Galaxy that people are just as excited about the sequel to that than they are for any future Marvel movie. They've cracked the code. They have them. They have the right team of people. They've got the master plan, and right now everything seems to be falling in place. It seems like they could pick any character from their catalog of characters, and if they just turn it over to the Marvel Studio folks, they're going to
be turning it into gold.
Yeah, they're going to be printing money no matter what it is, and we've got Daredevil coming up on Netflix in 2 weeks, and it's they're going to start making aggressive moves in a connected television universe too. So there's no end in sight. Hopefully we'll see a Ghost Rider series and a Punisher series and a Moon Knight series, and they'll start exploring some of those smaller niche kind of cult classic heroes as well.
Yeah, man. Sean, did you see that? That I guess we could call it a fan film with Punisher with Thomas Jane, the Dirty.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah,
God,
no, I thought it was.
If they made a show like that, that would be like, God, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had the same reaction to that a lot of people did, which was, kind of, like, guys, you see how easy it is to do a good Punisher story? You don't need a lot of money.
Yeah.
You need a couple of special effects guys that know how to handle weapons and kind of blood squirts and stuff like that.
Right.
You can do it. All you need is you need a good script, and you can do it well.
I mean, the freaking story takes place in a laundromat. I mean, and it was like probably more badass than the whole movie was.
Yep, it was. Yeah. No, that little fan film was infinitely better than anything out of the two Punisher movies that they made, and it just goes to show if you get someone that understands the character, and that can write a good story, a good script, then you can do this well.
Yeah.
It's not a difficult character to get well. You just need the right people to do it.
Yeah. Exactly. Couldn't agree more, man. Last little thing before we start signing out. They just recently announced that the awesome team of the Russo brothers will be directing Avengers: Infinity War Part 1 and 2, which is awesome because that means they've got those two movies and they've got Captain America 3, Captain America Civil War. So that means all those movies are just going to feel like one really nice, extra cohesive movie. Know what I mean?
Yep.
Like they already do well enough with that in the Marvel Universe to where you feel like all their movies are linked in my mind. But I think that's going to just take that whole series of movies just extra over the top, and they're all going to blend nicely together. So that's pretty cool. I'm excited about that. But anyways, we're about out of time, so we'll go around and take our quick final thought. Sean, this is where we just take 60 seconds to plug whatever you'd like. Tell us about what you're gonna have for breakfast tomorrow. Anything you want, man. So,
Sure.
as
Well,
our esteemed guest, we'll let you go first.
Yeah. No, to be honest, I just want to plug you guys. I mean, you guys have a great site. I've had a lot of fun on this podcast. You guys do a great job. You obviously know the genre extremely well, and you bring a lot of humor to this. So I hope week 85 turns into week 86, and week 86 turns into week 206, and week 206 turns into week 506 on the podcast. So I wish you the best of luck, and I sincerely appreciate you having me on the show and an opportunity to talk about our small indie press comic book company.
Sean, I think I'm gonna have to go cry a little bit now because that might be the best compliment we ever got on here.
Right?
we infinitely appreciate that, man. We really do, and we thank you for being on, man. It's awesome to have awesome guys like you come on here and talk about awesome stuff other than the big crazy things that everybody else talks about. This, like, your stuff is the stuff we really want to hear about.
Well, it was my pleasure, and I'm being sincere about that.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we follow up after that, but Piper, final thought?
Right?
Yeah.
I love me too. I think I'm pretty awesome also. So I would have to boost my petition to get Poison Ivy her own comic series, preferably written by Gail Simon.
Yeah.
One could hope, right? I think she's the one that could do Poison Ivy justice, for sure.
Yeah, Gail Simone, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I pronounced it wrong. Oh my god, I feel so bad.
You were just excited. Sean got us all, like,
Right? I'm all...
Just blame it on me. Just trust me. Throw it all my way.
All his fault, Gail, if you're listening. All his fault. Also, you should totally write Poison Ivy, your own series.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works. I'm pretty sure you can't just bust into DC. Well, I'm doing this. I'm writing this, and you're paying me.
Just Piper, start a rumor. Make that your next article. That you heard a rumor that Gail Simone is going to be
taking on
Poison Ivy.
Targeting Poison Ivy as her next project.
Ooh, I like that, Sean. I like those guerrilla tactics.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I have a legitimate petition just in case that other tactic doesn't work. And it's only got like 50 signatures, and I said if I get to 100 signatures, I will stream on Geeks with Wives me dancing dressed up in Poison Ivy cosplay.
All right, now see, that was the reason why I ran right away to sign this. I mean, come on, guys.
Right.
If you're watching, look at Piper right now. She's already rocking the Poison Ivy look. Now, I know...
Yeah, it'll be hair kind of like this.
If she does a stream, she's going to pull out all the stops, full costume. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. We need to make this happen.
Yeah,
not only for Piper's dancing skills.
I'm going to have like a little leafy bustle thing.
See?
I mean, it's going to be horrifying to dance in, but probably very entertaining for everybody else.
We need to make this happen. Not only to watch Piper dance as, burlesque Poison Ivy, but just to get another awesome lady, female kick-ass character that needs her own comic series. So
yeah,
go sign it.
That's what I'm all about. Instead of changing male characters to female characters, why don't we do existing female characters some justice?
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's pinned on the top of my Twitter. You can find it on change.org. It'll say something like DC give Poison Ivy her own series. Something like that.
Yeah.
So you can find me on Twitter at FizzGiggity. Better to just search for Piper. And
that's at FYZZGIGGIDY.
Good job.
Giggity.
I can hardly ever spell it.
Awesome.
And of course, you can find me on Geeks with Waz. My articles are random editorials right now. I don't have time to keep up with doing reviews until I'm done with school, so I just do random editorials.
We like it. We're enjoying whatever you put out, Piper. So thanks.
Oh, I forgot. And OutsideBoxCast.com is
Yes.
another. It's a web series I'm trying to start.
Yes. Awesome. Outside Boxcast. We love it. Love it all. Jonathan, tell us, man, what you got? What you got going on?
No, yeah. Just thank you for having me on. That's really all I wanted to say. I am not Casey Walsh. He is the man. I want to thank him for letting me fill in for him, even though I'm not filling in for him really. Can't replace that funny. He's the man, and feel better, as we said early on in the show.
Sure.
And also, the only plug I want to do this week is Sean Fahey's anthology of Tall Tales from the Badlands #3. It's really good, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Well,
Some awesome stuff, man. So check it out for some weird West tales. They're all excellent. They're all super great.
yes.
And as always, you guys should definitely be checking out, if you're not already, our site geekswithwives.com for all your geek news regarding comic reviews, stuff on cosplay, stuff on anything and everything geeky, stuff on tech, video games. We got it all on there, man. And it's constantly being updated. There's constantly, new articles and reviews by awesome people like Jonathan and Piper. Every once in a while, I happen to throw stuff on there. It's pretty rare, but I'm working on some stuff coming up for you guys. So, anyways, check that out. And as always, we appreciate your support. You can find our our Twitter at GWW Crew. And me personally, you can always find me on Twitter at Darthsparrow. And for the whole crew, for our awesome guest, Sean Fahey, and of course for Casey, who is sick. We love you, man. Get better. We thank you for listening. We look forward to seeing you next week. And as always, we will catch you on the geek side. Yeah.